Hi, I'm Mike Franzone, and welcome to Mike Franzone Ministries. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Again, hope you like and subscribe and share. Today is episode 2 of Giants, Demons, and Fallen Angels Revealed in the Bible. And so we have already started with Genesis chapter 6, but I want to go ahead and read chapter 6. We'll pick it up at verse 4 because this is the foundation for everything we'll be talking about in the next few weeks. Again, this is episode 2. There is episode 1 on the channel as well. Let me begin reading in verse 1. Now it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth that daughters were born to them. Again, we found out last time that there's a population explosion. Obviously, they're living hundreds of years and having kids and grandkids and great grandkids. It just went on and on and on. Verse 2. And the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves of all whom they chose. So we found out that the sons of God, according to biblical hermeneutics, are the Benai Elohim. These are fallen angels. And Jude talks about in 1st, 2nd Peter as well, how they left their first habitation. They left their first estate. So we won't belabor that point. You can go on and find episode 1. Again, they came and had relations with human women. What happened? The Lord said, My spirit shall not strive with man or plead with man forever. For he is indeed flesh, for his days shall be 120 years. So God, in all of his grace, said, You've got 120 years to get things right. And then verse 4, we started verse 4, and we'll pick it up here today. There were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterward. What that means is that after the flood, the Nephilim, the giants, reappeared. That's going to be, I believe, in episode 3 and episode 4. So, hang on to that one. It said in giants on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God, the fallen angels, came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them, and they were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. We'll stop here. Let's go ahead and dig into it. We left off at verse 4. Again, these giants, the Hebrew word is the Nephilim. They translate it as giants, but you could also put as tyrants and bullies. That's kind of what the word is speaking about here. The word is inferring that these were the fallen ones. Actually, literally, it is the fallen ones. They were bullies. They were tyrants. And he says here they were the mighty men of old, men of renown. Now let's take the word mighty men. It comes up in the Old Testament over and over again. It is the Hebrew word Gibor. Gibor means heroes, strong, valiant warriors, but not in the good sense. You can look at it and break it down and break the what we call the etymology of a word. Let's look at the roots of the word and come up to what is actually saying here. The word means to behave proudly, audacious, one who magnifies himself. These giants, these Nephilim, that were the hybrid of the fallen angels and the human women, were people, mighty men, strong, valiant, heroes in the bad sense, and these were self-centered ones who magnified themselves. They were audacious, full of pride. We know from the biblical text clearly they were evil, and they taught man how to do evil as well. So let's listen to Numbers 13. Numbers 13:33. This is when Moses sent out the spies to spy out the land that God said, it's your land, just go in and take it. But in verse 33 it says, There we saw the giants, the descendants of Anak, came from the giants, and we were like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight. Let's read that again. Watch. If you look at verse 32 of Numbers 3, the 10 spies who gave a bad report said, we're like grasshoppers in their sight. These guys are so big. Their places are so big. The places where they live are so fortified. There we saw the giants. Now, let's believe the Bible. You can change it if you want to, but what does the Bible say? It says they saw giants, and they were the descendants of Anak. part of the Anakim, which we will see later in another episode. These were the tribe of giants. There we saw the giants, the descendants of Anak, came from the giants, and we were like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight. Now, it's just pretty plain. I mean, really, come on. Believe the Bible, don't believe the Bible. You could make up things, but the Bible's pretty clear. They were anti-God, heathens, rebellious. That's who they were. But when he says they were mighty men, men of old, men of renown, the implication here is that they were superior beings. They were bigger, they were stronger, they were faster, quicker, they were more agile, they had superior strength. I mean, even when you go back to Mark chapter 5, and the man that was demon-possessed, they had unusual strength. So, again, they were superior beings, bigger, stronger, faster, quicker, more agile. They had superhuman strength, and they were giants. But then he adds something else here. He says they were mighty men who were of old, men of renown. Hebrew word, Shem, which means shame. It means defamed. It means they had a reputation. They had a reputation for being bad. It's kind of a byword, but basically it means they had a bad reputation. But it also means something else here. When you look at the word, it means that they were legends. There was a mythology. And now Genesis 7, hang on to that. Let me get back to something. Genesis 7, 6 and 7 says, every human and living thing was destroyed by a global flood. Whatever it was, whatever the sin was, it was pretty bad. Why would God destroy the entire world and every living thing destroyed with it except Noah and his family? He says that the corruption here was so big and so great, he said, I'm going to destroy the entire world. Now let's stop here. Just a little bit of a side note. The mythologies around the world, they all tell the same story. If you take a class called Comparative Mythology, you can find this out. There are grains of truth in mythology and in legends. And the Genesis 6 story survived. The Nephilim became men of renown. They became legends to many. I'll give you an example. You go to the Greeks, and here you have Hercules was the son of Zeus and a human woman, and he became a titan or a demigod. The son of Zeus, the gods came down and had relations with a human woman. How about the son of Odin? He had relations with a human woman by the name of Frigga and produced Perseus. All right. Romulus and Remus, the legend of the founders of Rome, they were children of Mars, a god, and a human woman. In Greek and Roman mythology, the gods were evil, they were troublemakers, they were malevolent, bad, like the fallen angels. And so you can look at all the myths from around the world, and you will see many things that all are the same. There was a global flood. The gods came down and had relations with human women and produced giants, hybrids, half god and half men. All right? And let's bring this out. You can look at it in Australia, Central America with the Aztecs and the Mayans. The Chinese have something along this line. The Egyptians in Greece. In India, there's the Hindus. They talk about Vishnu is the god that's a preserver, protector of the universe. His role is to return to the earth in troubled times and restore balance of good and evil. All right. Someday he says he will come back and he will one last time he will end the world and start a new world. They also have a legend of a giant flood. All right. And the first man, Manu, all right, he was warned about this flood, and so he built a boat for his entire family. Doesn't that sound? And saved him and his family. The Irish, the Koreans, the Native Americans, the Sioux, the Chickasaw, the Algonquin, the Arapaho, the Cara, the Blackfoot Indians, they all had the same thing going on, that there was a giant flood, and we were in the great canoe was able to rescue the people who began the human race again. South America with the Incas, in Taiwan. And what is that story that runs? Watch. There was a flood. Half gods and half humans produced giants. The origin, I believe, goes back to Genesis chapter 6, even though it's corrupted. It all goes back to Genesis chapter 6. Now, as a little brief aside, I think later on we'll, maybe not today, but in no time we'll kind of break it, look at even more some of this mythology. But verse 5, he says this, watch this. He says that the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intent, important word, underline it, every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Very important. Every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Some of your translations say every imagination of their hearts. It is the Hebrew word yetzer, and here's what it means. Device, framing, purpose, frame of mind, conception. It comes from a root which means to create. This is why the Bible here, my New King James Version, adds this part to it. Every thought of the intent of his heart was only evil continually. All right. Here's what it means. We just looked at some of the meanings. You find this in Strong's Concordance and other Greek books. The different aspects of a person's thoughts, intents, dreams, plans, emotions, intellect, reason, all the different things that make a human, every part of him, every thought, every intent, every dream, every plan, every intellect, every passion, every reason, every emotion, all right, was all about doing evil. Doing evil was the only thing that people thought about. That's exactly what he's saying here. This is how bad the world became. This is how the Nephilim, the giants, corrupted, and the fallen angels corrupted mankind. They daydreamed of new ways to do evil. They corrupted the nature, and they corrupted man. Remember what God did. God destroyed all the animals, and by the way, the Nephilim were destroyed as well here, but the animals as well. All creation got immersed in the water, and the water destroyed everything. Understand, Satan was trying to pollute mankind, and that's why he brought in this race of giants. Remember, we looked at Genesis 3:15 about the seed of the serpent versus the seed of the woman. The seed of the serpent were the Nephilim, and the goal was to corrupt mankind to make it impossible for the woman's seed, because a woman's seed would be a human that would kill the serpent, make it impossible for the woman's seed to come. So here what we see, and we'll see this in another episode, that there was genetic engineering that would change the DNA code, all right? There was virus was entered into the gene pool. Again, they almost won, but they didn't. Now, I want to share something with you here. When you can look at verse 5, I think verse 6, 7, you can just read through Genesis 6 and 7 and see how the corruption was so big and so corrupt. So God said, I'm destroying everything, because the Nephilim, and the fallen angels, not only corrupted man, they corrupted the animals as well. Now, I thought there was an interesting verse in Jude 6, chapter Jude. Well, there's no chapter, but Jude, the book of Jude, right before Revelation. I'm going to turn there right now. Listen to this. Look at verse 6 and 7 of Jude. And the angels who did not keep their proper domain, that's the fallen angels, their first habitation, but left their own abode, he has reserved in everlasting chains under darkness for the judgment of the great day. The sin was so great that right now they're in the bottomless pit. They're in the Tartarus. They're in the bottom of hell. As Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities around them in a similar manner, to these, having given themselves over to sexual immorality and gone after strange flesh, are set forth an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. So watch. He says he compares these fallen angels to the homosexuals mentioned in Genesis 18 and 19. He says here, and he separates it. It was over sexual immorality, and they had gone after strange flesh. Now, here it is. The Greek word in Jude is heteros. Heteros means another kind of flesh. There are different classes of flesh. There's another Greek word, allos, which means the same kind of flesh, another of the same kind. But heteros is used here, which means another of a different kind. Now, let me go to 1 Corinthians 15, and then we'll go to Leviticus. We'll put it all together for you, okay? 1 Corinthians 15, listen to verse 30, is that verse 39? Verse 39, watch. All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of animals, another of fish, and another of birds. Different classes of flesh. Some are of men, some are of animals, some are fish, some are birds. And the Greek word here is of the same kind, allos. So it says here they went after strange flesh. They went after flesh of another kind. There's a warning in Leviticus, and we'll put it together, okay? This might kind of blow your mind, but that's okay. Leviticus says here in Leviticus 18, he says in verse 22, you shall not lie with the male as with the woman, it is an abomination. Nor shall you mate with any animal to defile yourself with it, nor shall any woman stand before an animal to mate with it, it is perversion. But he continues, do not defile yourselves with any of these, for by all these the nations are defiled, which I am casting out before you. Now, for the land is defiled, therefore I visit the punishment of its iniquity upon it, and the land vomits out its inhabitants. So he's saying, the land is defiled. And he says, I'm visiting iniquity on the land. This is why God destroyed animals. Because these fallen angels and the Nephilim had committed bestiality. They had corrupted not only man, but they had corrupted the animal kingdom as well. And you could even speculate beyond that as well. What in the world did they create when they cohabited even with animals? We don't know. But I'm trying to make a point, is this is why God destroyed everything. So you go back and people say, oh, the sons of Seth had relations with the daughters of men. And so they intermarried, so God's going to destroy everything? I mean, everything? Every person, every living thing? The Bible says he had to destroy the land because the whole earth was defiled. Relations with animals, that's what he's talking about here, the strange flesh, fallen angels, Nephilim, people, and animals. And look at verse 5, 6, and 7. He says, every living thing would be destroyed. The fallen angels corrupted the earth, nature, the animals. They poisoned the generation. This is why the flood happened, because he had to destroy everything and basically clean house. That's exactly what God did as well. That's why we had a global flood. All right, well, I'm going to stop here today, and then I want you to be looking next week for episode 3. This is episode 2. We're going to continue looking from Genesis 6, and we're going to go through the Bible, because we're going to find out that somehow the giants reappeared after the flood in the Old Testament. Moses and Joshua and even David, they're all fighting giants. So stay tuned for next time, okay? Thank you so much for watching Mike Franzone Ministries, and thank you for watching this video as well. We'll see you next time. Stay in touch.